Let's talk Samsung for a few moments, shall we? I kind of was nonplussed when Samsung announced or teased rather, the Galaxy Fold Ultra, saying they heard the criticisms basically and that it was going to be a device that had a bigger display and better cameras. And while yes, that has been a very vocal criticism among enthusiasts saying, hey, listen, I'm paying this huge premium, flagship prices, I want to be able to get the full performance and display and everything that I feel I'm entitled to. But I really do think that at the end of the day, that misses the point. And whether there's a price increase or not, if there's a price increase, if they come out and say that the Galaxy Fold Ultra is $2,200, well, you can miss me on that one. That's already just going to be a non-starter right off the bat. But let's just say for a moment, for argument's sake, that Samsung gets up there next month at Unpacked and says, you know what? We're going to give you a bigger display on the outside of a Fold. We're going to give you a better camera system, but we're going to keep the price of the Ultra the same price as the old outgoing Z Fold 6. So you're looking at $1,900, $2,000, whatever it happens to be. And then the Z Fold 7 becomes not the budget option, but maybe is sold for $1,700 or $1,800. So let's just say Samsung does that. While I welcome any change in design and any sort of innovation and improvement in specs, I still think Samsung misses the point when we talk about these devices. The foldables, the book-style large foldables, haven't really gained wide adoption, not because of the fact that they didn't have a bigger screen or not because of the fact that the cameras weren't very good. I think the cameras were perfectly fine on my Z Fold 6. Were they as versatile as something on my S25 Ultra? No, of course not. But you're going to make compromises when you talk about these devices. But the two things that were the stopping blocks for people, the stumbling blocks for casuals to adopt these book-style foldables were price, number one, and justifying why they need to buy one. I really think that unless Samsung could make the case that people need to use these devices, you're going to have a problem with more people buying them. Samsung isn't limiting production. I think they're going to make 40% fewer foldables in 2025 or this year. They're expected to do that. That's for a reason. Now, they might be Samsung might just say, hey, listen, you know what? Casuals aren't going to buy this thing anyway. It's too expensive. Let's just shut up enthusiasts. Let's make people happy. And that way, the fewer units of these that we actually produce, we're guaranteed to sell. Because we're going to give them the camera that they want. We're going to give them the outer display experience that they want. And then maybe they'll keep quiet and they'll just buy them and we won't sell as many of them and that's okay. That could absolutely be the strategy. And if that's the case, then fine. But if Samsung is dedicated, committed to gaining adoption for these larger folds, then other things have to change besides just the cameras and the outer display. Because for entertainment purposes, these aren't that great. I kept thinking, oh, maybe it's amazing. I have all this extra room for content and games. I don't like gaming on these. I don't like gaming on the plastic outer layer. It doesn't feel great against my thumb. So I don't do that for long periods. And I'm not somebody that's going to bring a controller with me or something like that on the road. You're better off getting an S25 Ultra if you're really a serious gamer and getting one of those backbone things that you could slap on it and a controller. And I think that's a much better Switch-like experience for gaming on the go. Entertainment is all kinds of goofy because you have the letterboxing that goes on, the black bars, the actual viewable screen real estate, if you're keeping the aspect ratio correct, is only slightly more than what you get on a regular flagship with a 6.8 or 6.9 inch display. So tell me why I'm spending another $800 over what I'd pay for an S25 Ultra on something like this. That's what Samsung has to answer. That's the question that I want. Now, they did hint at something saying, well, Galaxy AI is going to help with that experience. Galaxy AI is somehow going to make things better. And wait and see, obviously. Got to give them the benefit of the doubt. The phone's not even announced yet officially. But if you were to tell me what Samsung needed to do, it needs a complete reimagining of the software experience. Forget about what they do with One UI right now. This needs, like Apple broke out iPad OS, which is a bad example because things aren't exactly going well over there. They're changing them now. We'll see how things go with iPad OS 26. But you need to have a One UI 7 version that is built from the ground up for tablets and large screen experiences. And I think it'll benefit Samsung because if you have the rumored trifold device coming out, you're going to have a 10-inch display, 16 by 9, and you're not going to have software that accommodates that experience. So I think it's great. It's great for running from Samsung to get out in front of this and say, look, we're going to come up with a completely different software experience for our larger form factors. That's absolutely what they need. And then, of course, you're going to have to drag app developers in, and that's going to be a slog because app developers, iPad, how long did it take the iPad to get an Instagram app? And that's one of the better adopted tablet form factors that you're going to have. So, Google tried when the first Pixel Fold came out. They tried the carrot and the stick. They said, well, if you make your app friendly for larger form factors, we'll put you at the top of the Play Store. There's a bunch of things you could try, but it needs to be a partnership. Samsung needs to provide the software environment for then app developers to then go and make these apps. That's why, even though the trifold phone is going to be who knows how much, $2,600, $2,700, $3,000, whatever it is, I think you can make a better case for people paying up for that device because there might actually be some use cases there because you could open it up. That is a device that maybe you bring a controller with you or a keyboard on the go. That is a device that maybe replaces your laptop and your tablet and your phone. And then all of a sudden $3,000 doesn't really become out of the realm of possibility. Then you're going to have hopefully a desktop experience where the Snapdragon 8 Elite can show off its power. Because right now on the Galaxy S25 Ultra and other devices, it's overkill. The Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 was overkill. The Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, go down the line. We don't need this in our pockets as it stands right now. But these form factors, the foldable devices, are an excellent opportunity to prove and use that extra horsepower that we have in these phones. But there needs to be a way to tap into that. And yes, I invite any sort of design innovation that we're going to get from Samsung. It is really cool that the Z Fold 7 looks like it's super thin, and that's going to be nice in the hand, and it is a different experience. Hopefully the battery life is still good, right? I know silicon carbon battery, I don't think. So that's going to be something to look out for because these things eat power. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that. We'll test it, of course, when it comes in. But if you're going to have a situation where you want more people to buy these, and if you want me to get excited about a Galaxy Fold Ultra, it can't just be that it's a larger outer display and it's a better camera. That's not going to do it. Would I like a little bit of extra screen real estate here? Sure. It's nicer to type on. I do like that experience. But I do think you're going to be limited unless it's the second part of it. And then, of course, it's price. Because when I talk about the original Pixel Fold, which you can now get for $500-$600 renewed on Amazon, you know how many people I know didn't buy that at $1,800, nor should they have, but picked it up for $500-$600 on Amazon and are absolutely loving it? The landscape form factor, I think, on that one sells. I like the wider outer display. I think there's a lot of things that form factor, advantage-wise, would have even over a monster Galaxy Fold Ultra. But it's price. Some of these things have to trickle down. That's why if you do have a Galaxy Fold Ultra that comes in at $2,000, hopefully they just keep it there, make the Z Fold 7 $1,600. Give us a reason to take a chance on some of these. And then maybe you'll get some wider adoption of some of these larger folding form factors. So there's two major problems I have with the large book style folds, the Galaxy Z Fold devices, as they sit today. And neither one of them is addressed by what Samsung teases for the Galaxy Fold Ultra. And that to me is a shame. That to me is a shame because it feels like a couple Reddit enthusiasts got some Samsung engineers drunk and just gave them their wish list of what they wanted to see on a Fold Ultra. That is a vocal minority of people who are crying about the cameras on this device. How many people do you think were sitting there saying, you know what, I like a Galaxy Z Fold 6, but that was camera, those pictures looked awful. That I wouldn't get that. No, what are they looking at? Huge price tag, still a relatively fragile device compared to a Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra. And why am I using it? Samsung has not made the case on why I should spend $800 more on one of these phones. That's the fundamental question that has to be answered if Samsung wants people to buy these. And that's my concern with the Galaxy Z Fold Ultra, is I don't think Samsung is addressing that question, because it's a heck of a lot easier to just make a more expensive phone, to make a slightly thicker foldable, slap the telephoto lens that people wanted on there, slap a bigger display so it's two Galaxy S25 Ultras sandwiched together, and call it a day. It's a lot easier to do that than to reimagine the way Samsung does software, than to build a One UI version from the ground up that's for larger form factors. But that's what it's going to take if you want these things to succeed. At least that's my opinion. If you've made it this far, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Until next time, have that Steve-licious day.